There is a moment that every parent has seen, maybe even lived, where a small child falls, looks up, and waits. Waits for someone to tell them how to feel, and almost every instinct in us says, rush over, pick them up, soothe the panic away. But what if that instinct, as loving as it is quietly working against the very brain we are trying to build? Japan has maintained one of the highest average IQs in the world, not for a year, not for a decade, but for generations across tens of millions of children. And when researchers started asking why, they did not find the answer in elite schools or in expensive toys or in genetic inheritance. They found it much earlier, in the bath, in the kitchen, in the ordinary, invisible moments of the first 3 years of life. My name is Sora, and this is Bloom School, where we take the research seriously so you do not have to wade through it alone. Today we are looking at 4 parenting habits from Japan that the science says genuinely shape early brain development. And I will be honest with you up front. There is one on this list I find almost impossible to practice. We will get to it last. A quick note before we begin: some of what you are about to hear will sound extreme by Western standards. I am not telling you to copy any of it wholesale. I am showing you what the evidence actually says, and you decide what belongs in your family. The first habit is called skinship. It is a Japanese word that does not translate cleanly into English, and that is partly the point. The concept itself is harder to name in Western culture because it has become harder to practice. Skinship means closeness through physical contact, bathing together, sleeping together, being carried close against a parent's body rather than pushed in a stroller. In Japan, many mothers and children share a bath every single night. Co-sleeping often continues until the child is 6 or 7 years old. Babies are worn in carriers for the first 2 years of life, kept against the warmth of a human body, instead of placed in a pram at a distance. In the West, we have spent decades being warned about exactly this. We are told that co-sleeping creates dependency, that carrying a baby too much will spoil them, that they need to learn to self-soothe. But the research tells a different story. A study in developmental psychology found that infants who experienced consistent physical closeness in their first year showed measurable changes at the molecular level, specifically in the genes that control stress response. Research from Notre Dame linked early skin contact to stronger emotional regulation and better cognitive performance years later. And here is what I find genuinely moving about this habit. Japan is one of the most technologically advanced nations on Earth, the country that gave us bullet trains, robotics, and consumer electronics. And yet, in the most intimate corner of family life, they never traded the ancient way for the modern one. Modern does not have to mean cold. That distinction matters. The second habit is about what goes into a baby's mouth and when. In Japan, weaning rarely begins with bland rice cereal or sweet fruit purees. It begins with miso broth, with soft white fish with steamed vegetables, seaweed, and tofu. Real, savory, complex food introduced as early as 5 or 6 months old. Now, I want to be careful here. Feeding guidelines vary by country, and you should always consult your own pediatrician before changing how you feed your baby. But the research behind this approach is genuinely striking. Japanese infants have among the highest dietary intakes of DHA, an omega-3 fatty acid, of any population in the world. And DHA is not a supplement detail. The infant brain is roughly 60% fat, and a substantial portion of that fat is DHA. Without adequate DHA, the brain cannot build itself properly. A long-running study from the University of Bristol followed thousands of children from birth into childhood. It found that mothers who consumed more seafood during pregnancy and early infancy had children with measurably higher verbal IQ, better fine motor skills, and stronger social development by age 8. Compare that to a standard Western weaning diet: rice cereal, apple puree, sweet potato mash. There is nothing wrong with those foods, but to be honest, they are calories. They are not brain food. My opinion, for what it is worth. I do not think Japanese babies develop strong cognition because of a single ingredient. I think the deeper point is that their first experience of food is real food: bitter, salty, savory, complex. And that single choice shapes not just the brain, it shapes the entire relationship a child will have with eating for the rest of their life. The third habit is harder to see but may be the most powerful one on this list. In most Western homes, you can hear it everywhere: the high, swooping voice, the simplified vocabulary, the gentle theater of baby talk. Does the baby want his bottle? Yes, he does. In Japan, there is a practice called katrikikaki ikuji, loosely translated as narrating childcare. From the day a baby is born, Japanese mothers tend to speak to them in full, normal sentences. They describe what they are cooking. They narrate the weather. They explain what is happening during a diaper change. To an outsider, it looks unusual. The baby cannot respond, cannot understand the words. So why bother? But here is what is happening inside that baby's brain. In one of the most significant studies in child development, researchers Betty Hart and Todd Risley tracked families over years and found something extraordinary. The number of words a child hears before the age of 3 is one of the strongest predictors of their academic success years later. By kindergarten, some children had heard 30 million more words than others. 30 million. Now, there is nuance here worth naming. Some researchers argue that parentese, the warm, melodic, higher-pitched speech scientists study, does support language development. Baby talk is not the enemy. But there is a meaningful difference between parentese, which is warm and musical and full of real vocabulary, and the dumbed-down version most of us slip into, which treats the baby as though they cannot understand. The Japanese approach keeps the warmth and discards the simplification. And of every habit in this video, this is the one that costs the least. No toy, no app, no investment. Just the choice to speak to your child as though they are already listening. Because, and this is the part I find genuinely beautiful, they already are. And now we arrive at the habit I told you about at the beginning. The one I personally find almost impossible to practice. In Japan, children are given real responsibility long before the Western world thinks they are ready for it. There is a famous television program called Hajime no Atsukai, which translates to My First Errand. Cameras follow toddlers, some as young as 2.5 years old, as they walk alone through real city streets to complete an errand for their mother. Real traffic, real shops, real consequences. To Western viewers, it is almost unbearable to watch. To Japanese families, it is a tradition. The show has been running on national television since 1991. But the errand is not really the point. The point is what happens every day at home, long before any cameras appear. Japanese children pour their own water. They carry groceries. They put their own shoes away at 2 years old. They are given tasks with real stakes and trusted to complete them. In Western parenting, the default assumption is, he is only 2, let me do it for him. In Japanese parenting, the assumption is reversed. He is already 2, of course he can do it. And the research backs this completely. Marty Rossman, a researcher at the University of Minnesota, tracked children for over 25 years into adulthood. The single strongest predictor of adult success, stronger than IQ, stronger than family income, stronger than parental education level, was whether the child had been given household responsibilities starting between ages 3 and 4. 3 and 4, most of us are still spoon-feeding at that age. And I will be honest, this is the habit that challenges me the most. Every instinct says step in, fix it, help. Watching a small child struggle with something I could do in 5 seconds feels almost unbearable. But that discomfort, that moment of wanting to intervene, that is the brain being built. So here is the truth that none of this research says explicitly, but all of it implies the smartest babies in the world are not being trained. They are being trusted. They are held close. They are fed real food. They are spoken to like full human beings. And they are given the dignity of doing hard things on their own. These are not methods. They are not programs. They are ways of seeing your child as already capable, already listening, already worth taking seriously. And the most important thing I want to leave you with is this: you can start any of these tonight. Not with a purchase, not with a course, not with a schedule. With a choice. If one of these habits made you pause or made you think differently about something you already do, I would genuinely love to know which one. Drop it in the comments below. And if you want more content like this, research-based, honest, and built for curious parents, subscribe to Bloom School by Sora. I will see you in the next video.